Hey everybody, welcome to the Ladybug Project, where the small and silent are learning to be empowered, open up their wings and fly. I'm Kara Adams and this is Alyssa Vine Hodge with me. We are advocates for those that have been survivors to child molestation. This week we are talking about forgiveness, and we're actually doing a 3-week series with forgiveness. So today, Alyssa is going to share a lot on forgiveness and just kind of pry her brain. And then next week, I'll speak a little bit more on forgiveness. And the week after, we have a special guest that we will share with you about forgiveness, because forgiveness is a huge part of what you have experienced in a trauma such as child molestation or any type of sexual abuse. All right, Alyssa, are you ready to go, babe?
I'm ready.
We were talking just a little bit ago, and you wanted to say something that like really resonated when you said it about forgiveness. Can you go ahead and like repeat that? You guys, I'll just warn you, if I start crying, just ignore me, because when Alyssa speaks, sometimes I'm just like, oh, it's like it pierces my heart, and it's very encouraging. It's very healing, and it's just amazing, like Alyssa is. So go for it, girl.
I don't remember exactly what I was saying to you, so I'll just go by my notes. But I was actually just writing this morning a little bit blurb about forgiveness, and writing about how whether we're forgiving ourselves for something or forgiving another person for something, the process is kind of like having a funeral for your emotions. And sometimes the emotions can be so intense. So especially around child molestation, because it's such an atrocity that occurred. It's pretty much psychological torture on a child. And so forgiveness isn't something that becomes like acceptable. You don't ever have good, happy, joyful feelings about your abuser usually. I haven't met anyone yet, but it's more like laying the experience to rest in a way that gives you peace and in a way that you can move forward with your life. So I can tell you a little bit, Kara, about how I got to the point of forgiveness, if you want me to.
Well, really quick. Before we go into that, can you is there any short version of how you found out that it occurred to you? Because I know for me personally, and I know there's a huge percentage of people that have been molested, but it's taken them an average of like 27 years to actually understand that, oh, wait a second, that happened to me. Because I know, I'll just say really quick, when I was I put myself in counseling at a young age because I didn't understand why I was having this reoccurring nightmare. And the counselor was like, Kara, are you sure no one did something? Are you sure somebody didn't touch you or do something inappropriate? And every counselor I went to would ask me the same thing. And I was like, no. And then one day, because it happened at such a young age for me, I was 3 years old. One day I was driving and I look over and I'm just sitting at a stoplight and there's this bank, and the person that was my predator worked at a bank, and I had an instant flashback, and that was in my 30s. So Alyssa, really quick, I know it's a lot, but if you can just say like, because I feel like it's a good timeline to say, this is what happened to me, and I was about this age or wherever in life, and then you're going through the process of learning about it, but how long did it take you to realize I need to forgive?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. I was about probably 3 years old when the perpetrator in my neighborhood started the grooming process of targeting me and noticing that I would be a good target. And then over the course of when I was 4 years old, it was repeated abuse of going over to this person's house And it was so traumatic that I didn't know as well for years. I just left my body and was not able to process what was happening or even know that it was happening. So I was in my early 30s when I just kind of, same as you, I kind of started feeling like something was wrong with me, but I didn't know what. And then it didn't come gradually, it just kind of all exploded into one medical crisis where I was hospitalized. And things were coming out, but I still didn't know what. I just had to put my brain back together slowly. It took a year after the hospitalization, so I was probably 33 or 4, before I realized I was molested. And then it took another year after that to put the pieces of who and why and when together. So it took 40, not good at math. It took about that 30 years to recover the memories. And a lot of, for me, I had some little minor flashbacks, and then I had to kind of corroborate my memories with my parents. Like, okay, who was I around? Did this really happen? Could this have happened? And they were like, yes, 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 now we get it. It makes sense. And so after, it took me 1 year from realizing who and what happened to get to the point of being ready to forgive the person. And that was a miracle because I thought I would never forgive. I was so angry that I was angry at the word, angry at people who told me to forgive. Like, just no, I couldn't imagine my life with forgiveness as part of the picture. So that's that part in a nutshell.
Yeah. Thank you. So what do you believe, as you started to learn that forgiveness was possible, what helped launch you into go, okay, this is the way I need to live in forgiveness?
Mm-hmm. Just gonna risk it and get a little bit deep here because I feel like I need to. The experience was so painful to me that it just felt like every cell in my body had been invaded by this person. Every cell, every brain neuron, everything was affected by what this person had done. And so it was a few months or months after I had realized the who and the what, and I was so just ridden with pain that I was getting a lot of burns on my arms when I would cook, and I didn't really think it was on purpose, but I liked the way that sensation felt. So I was talking to my counselor about it at the time and said, I don't think I'm harming myself on purpose, but when it happens, I really like how it feels. And he said, well, Alyssa, are you numb? Are you trying, when you burn yourself, are you doing it because you're numb and you want to remember that you can still feel? And I said, no, it's the opposite. Like, I feel too much, and the pain actually feels good. Like, it feels good, and it feels like what I need to get this trauma out of my body, just to release that. Like, mm-hmm. So when I first started thinking about it, it was at that point I realized, like, okay, this is not healthy. Self-harm is not healthy. What can I do? How can I get this experience, externalize it in that way, and get it outside of me? And I still thought, like, I need this burning with fire to release this from my body. And I thought, okay, I want to coordinate this big ritual, forgiveness ritual. I want to invite all my friends and family and just have this fire ceremony where everybody's like chanting and singing, and they just, like, I don't know, brand me or just like get this thing out of me. And then I was like, people in our culture don't really do that, Alyssa. It's a little over the top, you know, like, let's rethink this. Okay, so I just, for a while, just mulled over, like, okay, I need a ritual, a healthy ritual to be able to forgive. And I need to decide what forgiveness is. And that's when I came to decide that forgiveness is not letting this person's evil dictate who I want to be. And it's the letting go of the experience and that laying to rest and almost like burying it as a funeral. And would you like me to tell you about the ritual that I did do, the healthy one?
Please, that'd be awesome.
Okay. So I wrote a letter to my perpetrator, and I got a picture of myself with the perpetrator that I had. And I sat down all by myself and I just lit a candle outside, and I read the letter aloud as if I were reading it to him. And then I burned it. I burned the letter and I burned the picture, and I just, you know, said, I let this go, and I lay it to rest. And I don't remember everything that the letter said, except for, I do remember that it said, I'm not angry at you anymore. I don't wish that you're in hell burning for eternity. I said, what I hope for you is that you're at rest, and that you're in a place where you're understood, and that you're in a place where you understand me. And to me, that's forgiveness, is imagining that there's something bigger than all of this that really does understand and make sense of the madness and the chaos. And so when I came to that place, since then, it's been a huge transitional shift in such a healthy way, because before I could just blame my choices on this person, you know, like, well, this happened to me, so I'm crazy and I can do X, Y, and Z. And when you make that shift and you lay it to rest, you can say, yes, this was atrocious. Yes, I live with the effects every day. I'm never going to think it was a good thing or experience, but now the responsibility is mine. Like, I've laid that to rest and made my peace. So now I go forward, and there's many things in my life I have to forgive myself about. And so, yeah, it's just a work in progress. So.
It's an amazing work in progress. It's a lot to come from, and hopefully our viewers will know that. And if you have been affected by such a trauma as child molestation, that you can understand. Sometimes for me, it might not be daily, but I know it's weekly that I have to forgive. And like Alyssa said, she has to forgive herself. And when you do realize that we're accountable for our individual decisions, that there comes a lot of forgiveness I have to do. And not saying, like, for me today or yesterday, when I was telling Alyssa I had a really rough day yesterday, and I said, I mentioned this to somebody, I said, it's not that I'm a failure at life or at certain things, because sometimes we can be really hard on ourselves. I'm not a failure. It's just that I've fallen down a lot, and I have to say that's okay. And I can get back up, and I can realize it's just like a kid learning to walk. When you fall down, you find a way to put your hands down, to push your body weight up, and slowly get up and start walking again. And it doesn't have to be a jump. You don't have to jump into forgiveness, but it's a daily decision to say, I'm going to get up and I'm going to choose love for myself and for everyone I meet. And I'm going to walk in compassion, knowing that we all fall.
Yeah. And one thing that really helps in addition is, like, it's kind of a somber mood today. I've had a rough week too in some ways. But one thing that helps is having a friend that makes you laugh. Like, oh, a lot of times when Kara's in a slump, she'll call me and say like, oh, I did this. And I'd say like, that sounds good. I'm so proud of you. And then she'll say, but then I did that and so terrible. And I just laugh. And then I call her and say the same thing, like, just handled this so well, but then I did that. And then she'll just laugh at me. And, you know, we were just reminding each other today that we're all human, and in the grand scheme of things, you know, just like Kara said, just baby steps. You fall and just do it again and keep doing it again and doing it again. And one day it's going to get easier.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
And forgiveness can be a beautiful experience and one that you're learning. So, but like Alyssa mentioned, I wanted to reiterate this, that it's not okay for someone to do what they've done and the pain they've caused, but it is on our part where we can come to a place of forgiveness so we can walk in the fullness of who we are, and the essence of who you are can give off the energy that this earth deserves to see and know. So, you guys, I hope you enjoyed today. I know I have. And Alyssa, thank you so much for sharing. It's been really good and beautiful. And hopefully everybody will feel the same. And I know you will. Those of you watching, that you will be receptive to this. And this will like kind of drip and drop into your heart and allow healing to come. So we will see you guys next week. Thanks for joining us. If you ever want to check anything out, I've put a link to Alyssa's blog at the top right and my blog at the top right. So if you want to link to our books, they're also up there, and or at the websites. So everybody have an amazing day. Thanks so much.
Bye.